Hi everyone, my name is Vicky Adrianova and my presentation will be about statistical analysis of ACL injuries in female football players and the menstrual cycle. Here is a quick overview of what I'll cover today, the motivation behind the project, the dataset and its limits, the analysis and visualization, and finally, the main conclusions. This project comes from a very personal place. After going through multiple injuries myself, I've always wondered if there is something behind ACL injuries in female athletes than just bad luck or overtraining. So I decided to dig into something that's still surprisingly under-researched, the possible link between ACL injuries and the menstrual cycle. It's like whatever these injuries are more common during ovulation. If there is a pattern, we could rethink how we train, how we prevent injuries, and how we support female athletes better. This could give coaches, medical staff, and players themselves real tools to stay safer and perform at their best. So the dataset I used came from a preliminary list collected by a professional football club in Spain that I played for, and it includes 200 anonymized cases of female players who suffered an ACL injuries. The information is simple, but I think it's useful. First, the first name, non-unique anonymized, age ranging from 15 to 30 years old, whether the injury happened during ovulation, I make it as a true or false, and there is no location or exact date tied to these entries. Each case is just a single data point. So the idea behind collecting this data was to explore the possible connection between hormonal fluctuations, like the estrogen spikes during ovulation, and injury risk, especially due to the change of the ligament laxity. So let's be honest, the dataset has limitations a lot. It only includes age and ovulation status, that's it. There is no info about training loads, hormonal contraceptive use, injuries, history, or cycle regularity. And also, ovulation dataset is probably self-reported, not medical verified, which introduces recall bias or inaccuracies. So yes, the data is limited, but is still valuable for starting the conversation. Before diving into analysis, I cleaned up the dataset and renamed the columns for clarity, like changing injury status to LCA injuries and ovulation status to during ovulation. I made a general summary table to see overall ages distributions and then a second one to compare injuries during ovulation but outside of it. And the average age across all players was around 22.5 years with a decent spread from 15 to 30. And when comparing the ovulation and ovulation groups, the age distribution was almost identical, so age didn't seem to affect the pattern significantly. So to make the results more intuitive, I create three main visuals. First, I create this bar chart. I use RStudio and ggplot2. On the x-axis, we have the ovulation phase, either during ovulation or not during ovulation. On the y-axis, we have the number of ACL injuries in each group. And I used R-code to group the data by ovulation status and count the cases. The chart clearly shows that more ACL injuries happen during ovulation, which supports the statistical results. I also added a gradient blue color to make the difference between the bars and stand out more. Second, I created this box plot created with ggplot2 in RStudio 2. The x-axis shows the two categories, injured during ovulation but not during ovulation, and the y-axis shows the player's age. I used R-code to plot age distribution by ovulation status. The box plot looks very similar, same median and range, so we can say the age is not a strong factor here. I used a green color gradient to make the visual comparison easier. Lastly, I create these histograms in Tableau, separating the data into three age groups, from 15 to 20 years, from 20 to 25 years, and from 25 to 30 years. For each age group, this x-axis shows the ovulation status divided in yes or no. The y-axis shows the number of ACL injuries. And the goal was to see if injuries during ovulation increase with the age. We found a small increase across the groups, like we see for the first group 44 injuries, for the second one 46 injuries, and for the third one 55 injuries. So even though age doesn't change the pattern dramatically, it might have a small influence worth exploring. So I wanted to know, are ACL injuries actually more likely during ovulation, or is that just a myth? So I ran a one-person Z test to see if the injuries during ovulations were significantly more than 50%. The results were crystal clear. Z equals to 4.78, and the p-value that I got, it was less than 1 in 1 million. So that means we reject the null hypothesis and confirm a statistically significant link, and ACL injuries are more likely to happen during ovulation. And again, the visuals backed this up, everything pointed in the same direction. Honestly, this has been one of the most meaningful projects I've done, not just because I love football and data, but because I've lived this. I had 6 knee surgeries, and I've always felt like no one was asking the right questions. While working on this, I found that several top clubs in Spain are already noticing this pattern. A report from the Spanish Football Federation showed that from 65 to 7% of ACL injuries in elite female players happen during the ovulation. That perfectly matches my findings of 66%. Sure, my analysis isn't super complex, it's a small sample and there is a lot more to study, like sleep, stress, recovery, or hormonal treatments, but even with a basic approach, the pattern was strong. This matters. And I hope more research like this happens across Europe and US in this case. We need more awareness, better tools, and real education around menstrual health in sports. This is just a starting point, but it's one I'm proud of, and I love to keep going. Thank you so much for your attention. Hope you like it, and if you have any question, feel free to ask. Bye!